Hi guys, hi, how's it going? How you doing today? Hopefully today finds you well. Today I am doing my quarterly update for my No Pan Left Behind. This is a new thing on my channel this year, and it's really just about getting use on the products that I have in my collection. Since I am bringing in all kinds of things all the time, I want to make sure that I'm also like reaching out and touching some of the other products in my collection, specifically wrapped around palettes. Like, I have a series here on my channel called Palette Roulette. It is where I am reviewing palettes. I've been doing it since the beginning of time on this channel, and I have found that I get myself so wrapped into utilizing the one or two palettes that I'm utilizing for the time that I'm utilizing them and not really reaching into other palettes. So this is just a way to navigate what I'm touching and when I'm touching them every single year, so that I know that I'm getting use out of not just one or two palettes at a time or 52 palettes in my collection, but all of the palettes. Ultimately, I don't anticipate I'm going to use every single pan in every single one of my palettes every single year. But I want to make sure that I am tracking this so that I am using, to the best of my ability, to the best of how many eyes I have on my face and how many times I'm able to use a palette, as much as my palette collection as I possibly can every single year, which has not been the case up until this year. I know that there are palettes that sit in my collection that I use through Palette Roulette that I never touch again. I want to make sure that what I love is in my collection and I'm using them. So we started No Pan Left Behind this year. This is a thing that this is a video that I'm going to come to you quarterly and talk about not only the palettes that I was able to complete No Pan Left Behind, but also the palettes that I dipped into over the last quarter, and really see if I can make more and more palettes part of my everyday like rotation as it goes, and just be more aware. And I hope that sounds like something you're interested in. For those of you with us today who are new, my name is Donna. I'm a field leader for Ulta Beauty. I love high-end makeup, self-care, all the beauty stuffs, everything in between. And ultimately, I just like talking about makeup, which is why I'm here today to talk to you, because I love to talk about makeup palettes. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. I hope that you'll want to subscribe before you go, and know that I'm trying to get to 2K before my birthday in September. I hope that you want to be a part of that. I also have an awesome like giveaway in September every single year. It's my annual giveaway, the only giveaway that I do here on my channel, and I hope that you'll be a part of that. The only way to be a part of that is to subscribe. So it's totally free to do. I'm kind of a kick in the pants to hang out with, and I hope that you'll want to come along for this ride. So with that said, let's roll into this No Pan Left Behind quarter 2 update. That sounds really super hard to say. I cannot believe we're halfway through this year already. So I'm going to first walk through the palettes that I touched over the last quarter. And I have all of them in a book that looks like this, and I just marked them with a dot marker so that I'm able to track them and showcase for you which ones I was able to get through, but also which ones I was able to touch throughout the last quarter. So let's first talk about the ones that I've been able to touch throughout the last quarter. And I'm going to start with this one because this one, based on my dot marker setup, I pulled it out in February. I also pulled it out in May and June. So I want to make sure that we showcase this is the Tarte Make Believe in Yourself palette. I have pulled this in multiple times into like Deck of Panning, but also just like as a shimmer shade that is a regulatory shimmer shade. This is a palette that I've been trying to like pan for the last couple years. I don't imagine that this will be long-lived in my collection. It's kind of a pain in the butt to store, but it is a palette that I only have 3 more shades in to touch before this becomes a No Pan Left Behind palette. So the 3 pans that I have left are this one, and then also this one here, probably my least favorites in this palette to touch. So that one is one that I got some usage out of in May and June. I also have these two palettes that are currently in my deck of panning, which is why I was able to see some use out of them. I pulled them in June's update for deck of pannings. I've used two shades out of this palette, the blue here and the purple here. Those are the only two out of this palette that I've seen usage on in this quarter. And in this palette, there's only 3 shades that I haven't used, and that would be this one here and these two on the end here. Soul crushing that I didn't get that one also entered into No Pan Left Behind truly in June while doing my palette roulette utilizing my Christmas Town and Halloween Town palettes. I also did get some use out of these two palettes. So from the Pro Pigment Volume 1, I did use these two shadows right here and this kind of like fuchsia color and this deep purple. I did get use out of those, as well as 3 shadows in the Pro Pigment Volume 2. And the 3 shadows I got use out of in this palette are these 2 shadows here and this one here. In April, and I'm not really sure when in April, if I'm honest with you, I did get use out of this palette. The 2 shadows that I got use out of this palette were this one here and this one here. I can't remember what look I was doing. If I go back in my pictures, I might be able to find it. It would have to be in conjunction with one of my No Pan Left Behinds, but maybe the Huda Beauty Pretty Grunge, maybe through Palette Roulette series, who knows. But I did get use out of this in April, which would have been the beginning of this quarter. Also in April, I was able to get some use out of the Natasha Denona Hypernatural face palette, and the shadows I got use out of this shadow here and this shadow here. And the 2 face powders, but I think the 2 face powders I actually have marked as having been used in March. Additionally, I have this one as also having been used in March. So this one was the only shade that I was able to use in April in this last update. So with that said, I do have 12 palettes that I was able to get used up, like No Pan Left Behind, throughout this last quarter. The first one is going to be Pretty Grunge. Now, Pretty Grunge was in my Palette Roulette series, and I did start using this one in March and ended up using the rest of it in April as I finished up my reviewing process in this. This is the one that I do believe this palette was used in conjunction with. I also do think that I remember using this shadow here with this palette as well. So I do think that this was the catalyst to getting a couple of palettes started in this No Pan Left Behind for this year. I also was able to finish Christmas Town and Halloween Town. These 2 palettes were able to be utilized all through the month of May when I was using them in my Palette Roulette series for review process. I really, really, truly did love these palettes, and I will have the Palette Roulette playlist up in the cards for you so that you guys can go through and see my overall thought processes on these palettes, because I do think that that is relatable and something that you might want to see. I was able to finish the Natasha Denona Retro Glam palette between April and May as well. This is what this palette looks like. This is not my favorite, to be honest, but it is a really good palette for a really beautiful like sagey green like eye. In addition to that, I utilized this palette, which is the Sydney Grace in Mel's Memory, at the same time. I do love this palette just a smidge bit more than that Natasha Denona one. I felt like it was a little bit more pigmented. Truly a beautiful palette to use, but was able to use all 20 of these eyeshadows as well as all 15 of these in that palette Roulette series. I use them in tandem with each other so that I could get both of them out of here. I was able to finish the Mothership Moonlit Seduction palette in April. Originally started this one in March. This one was also part of palette Roulette. All of these truly are part of palette Roulette, which is why I was able to get them used up. That's what this one looks like. And I did use this one in tandem with another one as well. You know what? I think I was using this with Pretty Grunge, if I'm honest with you. April, I only had 4 extra shades to use, so it wasn't hard to get this one finished or completed through No Pan Left Behind. I'd like to go in order of when I use them, but that's just not how my book is situated, so there's that. And then in June, I did use these 4 palettes together, so these all got No Pan Left Behind as well. This is the Pat McGrath Bijou Brilliance Lunar Night shade palette, and I 100% love this palette and would recommend it if you could pick it up. It was part of her holiday collection. And then I had 3 Rabanne palettes. This one is Paradise Lost and Found, which happened to be my favorite one of the 3 of these. And then this one is called Feel My Vibe. Got those used up in June. And then this one is called Unnatural World, and probably my least favorite of the 3. This one was able to be used up in June as well. And then last but not least are the 2 palettes that I had in my palette review rotation through the month of June and going into July. As we are here, it is still a palette rotation that I am in, but I was able to get every single one of these shades used, touched, and put onto an eye look by the last day of June. And as a matter of fact, they are on my eyes today. This is the Danessa Myricks Groundwork Blooming Romance palette. This one was No Pan Left Behind all through the month of June. And then with the last day using it in June, you know, to complete that No Pan Left Behind being the 30th of June. And then this one is the Danessa Myricks Lightwork 5 I Am palette. And again, this one was used all through the month of June as well. The last shade being touched in the month of June on the 29th was when I was able to complete this one, No Pan Left Behind. So those are the 12 palettes that I was able to complete No Pan Left Behind, and the 7 palettes that I touched throughout the second quarter of 2024. And I am really excited about this because Q1, I only completed 9 palettes and I only touched 4 additional palettes besides those 9. So I really am trying to roll in palettes into like my deck of panning project and any other like thought process that I have around collaborating other colors with the palettes that I'm bringing into my palette roulette. I have been pulling for the palettes in my collection instead of just trying to lump it or wish that a palette had a certain color. I will just go pull it from my palette collection, and I'm excited about that. So we added an additional 25% of my palette collection to the palettes No Pan Left Behind in this last quarter, and we also added we almost doubled the amount of palettes that we touched outside of the No Pan Left Behind palettes as well this quarter. So really happy with those results. I'm hoping that we'll see, you know, through the No Pan Left Behind series, I'm hoping that we will end this year with at least, my palette collection is quite large. Let's start there. I have like 200 palettes in my collection. I'm hoping that we will end this year having touched 60% of my palette collection through this like mindset, right? So I understand that what I know to be true is I think I have way too many palettes to touch every single palette every single year, but I would like to have the mindset of getting through as many, you know, at least touching as many palettes as possible in my collection throughout the entirety of the year. And I think I'm on a good, you know, trajectory right now. In my palette collection, I've completed 21 palettes out of 200, so just over 10%. And I have touched, including those 21, 32. As the year goes on, I'll have more like statistics for you. I haven't really thought about it through that lens right now. Right now, just it's about touching the palettes that are in my collection. So with that said, let me know your thoughts and opinions. I would be sure interested to hear from you down in the comments section. I love our conversations down there, so don't forget to hit me up. Again, I do hope that you'll want to subscribe before you go. If you are new here, I really am a kick in the pants to hang out with. And even if this video is not your cup of tea, I have like 1,100 videos on my channel. I do think that you'll find something that you absolutely adore. And yeah, with that said, you guys, just thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you and yours are well. I hope that you are all safe and healthy and getting along as best you can. I hope that you are all loving each other, being kind humans. And until next time, bye friends.